If there's one thing I hear over and over from people who struggle with sleep, it's this: I just don't have time. And I get it. Between work, family, responsibilities, social commitments, and everything else life throws at you, it feels like there's barely enough time to get through the day, let alone wind down for a full night's rest. I used to believe that too, that good sleep was something only people with quiet, slow-paced lives could have. But over time, I learned that natural restorative sleep isn't about having hours of free time before bed. It's about making the minutes you do have work for you instead of against you. And honestly, that shift changed everything for me. I went from crashing into bed exhausted but wired, to actually looking forward to the small rituals that told my body, hey, it's time to let go. If your life is hectic, you need sleep more than anyone, because that's when your body repairs, your mind resets, and your energy refills. Without it, you're just running on fumes, and eventually that catches up to you in ways you don't want. Burnout, mood swings, brain fog, even health problems you never saw coming. The good news is you don't need a 2-hour bedtime routine or fancy gadgets to get natural sleep, even with a packed schedule. You just need simple, intentional actions you can repeat consistently, no matter how busy your day was. And that's what we're going to talk about: how to find rest in the middle of chaos, how to claim just enough space in your evenings to tell your body it's safe to sleep, and how to make that a part of your life without feeling like it's another chore on your to-do list. One of the biggest game changers for me, and for so many busy people I've talked to, is the idea of micro-routines. When you don't have an hour to unwind, you have to make the most of the 10 or 15 minutes you do have, and that starts with identifying your personal switch-off signals. For some, it's as simple as changing into soft clothes the moment they're done for the day. For others, it's making a warm drink, dimming the lights, or putting their phone on silent. These little cues might seem insignificant, but when you repeat them night after night, they become a kind of muscle memory for your nervous system. I know a lawyer named Alex who works 12-hour days and used to think she'd never get quality sleep until she retired. Now her entire wind-down ritual is less than 10 minutes. She makes a cup of chamomile tea, puts on a playlist of slow piano music, and sits on her couch without her phone until the tea is gone. That's it. But she says it's enough to tell her brain the workday is truly over. And she falls asleep faster than she did when she used to scroll social media in bed. The key here is that you're not trying to force your body into sleep. You're guiding it there by creating a consistent pattern. And consistency is everything. Even if you're busy, you probably do certain things every day without thinking, like brushing your teeth or locking the door before you leave. Sleep cues can work the same way. Once your body learns the sequence, it starts to prepare for sleep as soon as you begin. That's why these micro-routines are so powerful. They work with your biology instead of fighting it, and they don't require you to change your entire lifestyle to see results. Another strategy that works wonders, especially for people who feel like their mind is still running a mile a minute when they finally get into bed, is the quick mental unload. You don't have to write a novel. Just keep a small notebook or even a sticky note by your bed and spend 2 minutes jotting down anything you're worried about forgetting, anything that's unfinished, or anything that's been looping in your mind all day. This isn't about solving the problems right now. It's about telling your brain that you've got them stored somewhere safe, so it doesn't need to keep you awake reminding you. I know a busy restaurant owner named James who swears this is the only reason he sleeps at all during his busiest seasons. He says without it, he lies there thinking about inventory, scheduling, and a dozen little things. But once he writes them down, it's like handing them off to his future self so his present self can rest. Another thing I've seen work for people with packed schedules is what I call mini wind-down breaks earlier in the evening. Instead of waiting until you're in bed to start relaxing, you sprinkle in 5 minutes here and there after dinner to slow your system down. Maybe that means stepping outside for a breath of fresh air, listening to a calming song, or just sitting with the lights dimmed. These micro pauses add up, so by the time you do go to bed, your body is already halfway there. And here's the truth. If you're busy, you can't afford to waste the first hour in bed trying to shut off your brain. That's why creating those pockets of calm earlier is so important. It's not about finding more time. It's about shifting the time you already have so it works for you instead of against you. And for some people, the real secret isn't adding a long list of new habits. It's removing 1 or 2 things that are secretly wrecking their sleep. The most common culprit? Screens. I know it's the advice we've all heard 100 times, but it's amazing how often people ignore it until they try it for themselves. The light from your phone, laptop, or TV tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime, which keeps your body from producing melatonin, the hormone that tells you it's time to sleep. If you're busy, you can't afford to delay that process. I've seen people make one simple change: no screens for the last 20 or 30 minutes before bed, and suddenly they're falling asleep in half the time. If that sounds impossible because you use your phone to relax, swap it for something that doesn't blast light into your eyes, like listening to a podcast, reading a physical book, or even just lying in the dark with calming music. Another sneaky thing that gets in the way is eating heavy meals too late. When you're busy, it's easy to push dinner to 9 or 10 at night, but that means your body is still digesting when you're trying to sleep. I know a marketing director named Melissa who used to do exactly that. Work until late, eat dinner at her desk, and then wonder why she felt restless at night. She started eating a little earlier, even if it meant having a lighter meal, and noticed her sleep improved within a week. The point is, when your schedule is packed, you have to be intentional about the small things. You might not be able to control how early you get home or how many meetings you have, but you can control your last half hour before bed. And when you choose even 1 or 2 habits that signal the day is over, you're giving your body a chance to do what it already knows how to do: sleep naturally and deeply. I remember talking to Laura, a corporate executive who seemed to live on airplanes. She told me she had accepted poor sleep as part of her job: late-night emails, early flights, hotel rooms that never quite felt comfortable. But she started experimenting with a simple wind-down routine she could do anywhere: change into comfortable clothes, make a cup of herbal tea, and listen to the same playlist of soft acoustic music. She said at first it felt a little silly to bring her tea bags and Bluetooth speaker everywhere, but soon it became her portable bedtime signal. Now, whether she's in New York or Tokyo, her body knows what to do when she starts that routine. Then there's Ryan, a high school teacher and soccer coach, whose days are a blur of classes, practices, grading papers, and meetings. He used to come home late, collapse on the couch, and stay there scrolling until he was too tired to move. When he finally went to bed, he couldn't shut off the day's noise. We talked about micro-routines, and he decided to try two things: turning his phone on airplane mode an hour before bed and doing a 5-minute stretch in his living room. He told me it was like flipping a switch in his brain. The first few nights felt weird, but by the end of the first week, he was falling asleep without the usual mental wrestling match. I also think about Jasmine, a single mom with 2 young kids, who laughed when I asked her about a bedtime routine. "I'm lucky if I can brush my teeth before bed," she said. But she committed to one tiny change. After putting the kids to sleep, she would sit in the quiet for 5 minutes with a candle lit, doing nothing else. She said those 5 minutes felt like a reset button, and she started noticing she was less tense when she finally lay down. It wasn't about having an hour-long spa session. It was about creating a moment that told her body it was okay to rest. Another story that stuck with me is from Mark, a paramedic who works long and unpredictable shifts. He said his biggest challenge wasn't just finding time to sleep, but finding a way to actually relax when he did have a chance. He'd come home after 12 hours of high-stress calls, and his body would still be in full alert mode. One night, almost out of desperation, he tried a trick he'd read about: taking a hot shower in the dark with just a single candle lit. He said the combination of warmth, low light, and stillness helped him feel like he was finally stepping out of the chaos. After that, he made it a ritual, and he noticed he could fall asleep within 30 minutes instead of lying awake for hours. Then there's Emily, a startup founder who admitted she used to wear her lack of sleep like a badge of honor. She'd push herself until 2 in the morning, wake up at 6, and brag about hustling. But over time, the brain fog, irritability, and constant fatigue caught up with her. She decided to try a no-screen rule for 30 minutes before bed, replacing her phone with a paperback novel. She told me that at first her mind resisted, but after a week she started craving that quiet reading time, and her sleep quality improved so much that she felt more productive, with fewer hours of work. I also met Daniel, a long-haul truck driver, who said his cab was not exactly the ideal sleep environment. Engine noise from nearby trucks, strange parking lots, and no real bedtime routine. He invested in a small white noise machine and started wearing an eye mask, and he treated the last 15 minutes of his night as sacred. No calls, no TV, just deep breathing while listening to ocean sounds. He said it transformed the way he slept on the road and made him feel human again. One of my favorite examples is from Sophia, a nurse practitioner who works in a busy clinic all day and often brings patient concerns home in her head. She told me that by the time she got into bed, her mind was replaying conversations, worrying about lab results, and planning the next day. She felt like she had no off button, so she decided to create one. She started a ritual where, after brushing her teeth, she would sit in a chair by the window, sip peppermint tea, and listen to one specific 10-minute guided meditation. She did it every night for 3 weeks straight, and she said her brain started associating that meditation with shutting down for the day. Now she barely gets halfway through before she's ready to sleep. Then there's Kevin, a father of twins who works in IT and often stays late at the office. He admitted that his evenings were so rushed, dinner, helping with homework, cleaning up, that by the time he went to bed, his heart rate was still high. he decided to try a simple stretching routine with his kids before their bedtime. Just 5 minutes of gentle movement and breathing. Not only did it help them sleep better, but Kevin said he noticed his own body feeling more relaxed when he finally turned in. And finally, there's Maria, a freelance photographer who's constantly juggling shoots, editing, and client calls. She used to think she needed hours of downtime to get good sleep, but then she started using small sensory cues, a lavender pillow spray, a particular playlist, and turning off bright overhead lights at least half an hour before bed. She said those small signals worked faster than she expected, and now she sees them as non-negotiable parts of her night, even when she's traveling. All these stories show the same truth. No matter how hectic your life is, you can carve out moments that tell your body it's time to rest. And those moments, repeated night after night, become the path to natural, deep sleep. Here's what I want you to remember. You don't have to wait for life to slow down before you can sleep well. You don't need a perfect schedule or a quiet cabin in the woods to get the kind of rest your body craves. You just need a few minutes each night that are yours. Moments that send a clear message to your mind and body. The day is done. It's safe to let go. Those moments might look different for everyone. Maybe it's a cup of tea, a warm shower, a stretch, a journal page, a candle, a song. But what matters is that you claim them and protect them, even when the rest of your day feels out of control. And I get it. You might be thinking, I'm too busy. I'll start when things calm down. But here's the truth. The calmer nights come because you start now, not after. Sleep isn't just something that happens to you. It's something you can create, even in the busiest season of your life. And once you feel the difference, once you wake up with real energy instead of dragging yourself through the day, you'll see it's worth every single minute you gave it. So tonight, choose one thing. One signal that tells your body it's time to rest. Do it tomorrow. Do it the next day. Watch how your body learns to respond. And then, no matter how chaotic your schedule is, you'll know that you've built a little island of peace in your day, a place you can always come back to. That's the start of real, natural sleep, and it's something you can give yourself starting tonight.